Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the State of Data Quality in 2025 webcast. Thanks for being here with us today. Before we start, just a few intro slides. So next slide, Jay. There we go. Our speakers. So yours truly, Wayne Eckerson, president of Eckerson Group, longtime expert in the data and analytics industry. Jay Piccionary, my colleague, senior consultant, Eckerson Group, longtime data warehousing BI manager and analyst for Eckerson Group. We also have two guest speakers, Matthew Trumbull and Farah Kim, both from WinPure, a new exciting data quality startup who put together some interesting data regarding data quality in 2025. And we thought we'd have them on to go through their findings as well as give us a quick demo of their new product. So welcome, Matthew and Farah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you for
Great.
having us. Yeah.
And just a little bit about us, little advertising here. We, Eckerson Group, are a boutique consulting firm that helps commercial and nonprofit organizations get more value from their data. Unlike most consultancies, we specialize in delivering actionable data strategies, roadmaps, governance, and self-service plans and operating model organizations. And you can see some of our clients to the right. We've been very happy to work with big, small, brand name, and not nonprofit and commercial to help them move the needle with data and analytics. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Farah. Jay, if you could go to the next slide. And she's going to step us through the salient findings from their research, which was gleaned from talking to numerous clients and prospects. And we've got about 5 or 6 different sections. And after each section, we're going to stop and have a conversation. So again, if you have a comment or a question, please insert it into the chat and we'll bring you in at that point. Farah, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne, for giving us a stage to talk about this. Because when we were, just to quickly talk about WinPure as well, to give you context, we have been in the data quality management space for the past 2 decades. And we are the industry's award-winning, the only software that on-premise that is also, that allows both business and tech teams to clean, match, consolidate, merge and purge data sets using a combination of proprietary match algorithms and now with AI matching algorithms as well. So we are a no-code platform and we just, work so much with dirty data that I felt like making this report was very important to highlight the state of data in organizations today. And it's not just the state of the data quality, but to also talk about the challenges companies are facing while trying to tackle data quality, right? So the original report, we titled it as Insights from the Front Lines, because these findings that you see, they are coming in from real conversations with real prospects who have come to us to talk about challenges that they have faced while trying to manage critical projects like CRM migrations or ERP migrations. And while they were trying to do that, they realized we have a data quality challenge. We've been having data that's been obsolete for decades. We have so many duplicate data challenges. We don't know how to fix it in time to meet a business critical need. So yeah, very quickly, I will walk you through some of the key findings, and then we can have a conversation around it and see what can be done to solve these challenges. So Jay, if you could move to the next slide, please. Right. So as you can see here, from what we discovered last year, nearly 70% of organizations were struggling with duplicate and inconsistent records. Now, you would think with all the advanced technologies that we have now, this shouldn't be a problem. But then when our team went through the sample database, when we talked to customers, we realized this is a very fairly common issue with almost every organization, whether large or small. And this happens at a very deeper level. It's not just, oh, you have same names, but then you also have challenges with how people enter data. So you've got databases where the record is ABC Limited Ltd, but then you've got another option where we've got another data where they've written the whole name, so it's like it's not consistent. It has too many variations in how data is entered. That's one of the biggest challenge most of the people who came to us had. And then to make that even more difficult, they also reported lots of missing and incomplete data where the information was not complete enough to get a single view of the entity. If you just to the next slide, please, Jay. Now, all of this aside, you would also have challenges with what we think are issues when you have too many databases connected to your main organization. So we've had people come in who, say that they've had their data stored in a CRM, and then they've got their ticketing system, they've got their billing system, they've got vendors, they've got suppliers. All of these different data sources are so disconnected, and each department or each unit is working in silos, which makes it even more difficult to get a complete overview of the customer or the customer record. So around 50% of the customers who came to us said that disparate data issues was fairly common, it was a big challenge for them. And then obviously, like I mentioned before, obsolete data was also one of the critical challenges that they wanted to solve. So overall, I would say last year has been very revealing because with so many companies trying to get onto the AI bandwagon and trying to do all of these new transformations, they're still dealing with some very critical data quality issues that we think is not being spoken about enough. They've been in the back burner for so long. It's only coming up now because suddenly you've got these business critical projects to complete, and then that's when you realize, hey, my data is not really good enough for what I need to do. So I need a solution. I need to do something fast. And that's when you get trapped into the whole cycle of bad data, not having enough resources, not having enough people to solve this problem. So yeah, this is just the first part of the finding.
Yeah. So Farah, great stuff. I was struck by something you said almost in the beginning, which is that we've had all this fantastic technology for the last 10, 20 years, and we still have the same data quality issues that we had way back then. And it's like, what's going on? Why can't we fix this problem? And I think you alluded to a few things, that we've got these silos and, systems, CRM, ERP, spreadsheets, spread marts, whatever you call them, where the application designers or the people who own the spread marts are defining data in their own way, inconsistently, and using different fields perhaps to capture information about customers, right? Sometimes including fields that others have and sometimes not. So there's gaps, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we actually had a client this fall that had a big data quality issue, and it's somewhat understandable because it's a company that grows through mergers and acquisitions. And they just are starting to digest this major acquisition of a company that was like 2.5 billion in revenue, and it's the same size as the acquiring company. And the executives were so eager to get a common view of their customers and products across both companies, but they couldn't get it because their data was, just not in, well, it was trapped in probably 17 ERPs, I think is what we discovered, right?
And 17 ERPs. Wow.
17 ERPs, right? So, yeah. So if you want data quality problems, try being in an environment like that. So what's interesting is that the executives for a long time were used to running a systems environment run by a single mainframe and a single ERP in that mainframe. And so you had one source of data for everything. And so their way to kind of make data consistent address these data quality issues is to consolidate ERPs down to one. And they are trying to do that. But I think we convinced them that, well, if they're going to continue to do M&A, they're still going to have data quality issues. And they need
Yeah.
a method, not only data quality tools, but kind of systems integration tools that can integrate the company in real time across all these systems and accelerate the process of bringing in a new company and its systems. So data quality has many dimensions and many levels of complexity. So that was just one thought from our own experience with clients. I'm wondering, Jay, you were in the trenches for many, many years dealing with these data quality issues. Do you have any thoughts or comments on this topic?
Yeah, well, on the subject of disparate data, you don't need to have 17 ERPs to have disparate data, right?
Yeah.
What makes data disparate, if you think of it by domain, right? Then if you have one ERP and one CRM and one HR system, you've got domains of data that exist in each of those. So even with only one version of each of those types of systems, you can still have the same type of data spread across it and have different kind of different values that you have to reconcile. So the when we think about what is a silo, I think those of us who are oriented towards data think about it as from a domain perspective, a data domain perspective, and that's often what doesn't get dealt with, because when you're implementing an ERP system or building an e-commerce system, you're really laser focused on the functionality, right? And everybody says, well, we'll worry about the data later, right? We'll clean that up later. And then you do that multiple times, and you've got yourself.
And we have a comment from Henrik, and it's basically to that point. He says, is it fair to frame the data quality problem as an inherent conflict between speed and quality? Many or most companies, especially startups, prioritize speed and get back and fix quality issues later. Well, yeah, we'll get back and fix it later. Sometimes never happens.
Let me give you a business user perspective to this. I mean, I have a marketing background, obviously, and we deal with a lot of customer data because we take care of the CRM and we have to run campaigns and all of that stuff. And to be fair, I don't think we business users, and the reason why I'm saying business users is because in startups, your marketeers and your CRM managers and your business users are sometimes the decision makers in setting priorities for, whether you want to fix the data now or later. Sometimes they are the decision makers because you don't have those analysts or engineers or IT resources at the time, right? So from our perspective, what we tend to do is we completely, I would say we don't even understand the problem with data quality. We don't even label it as a data quality problem. And we tend to think of it as an IT only issue. Like if I need something from my data, I would rather outsource it to someone who can clean it up and who can fix it and give me the final version to work with. I wouldn't necessarily go in and fix it myself, or I wouldn't necessarily understand that, this is a data quality issue and I need to get it solved before I can do something else. I will just go in and get things done. And if, something happens to me later because of the data, to the company, for example, that's when it will hit me. Oh, we had this issue and, we didn't spot it. We didn't see it because, to be fair, we don't have the tool, or we don't even know, we're not trained into understanding data quality as a subject. We just know that this is a list of names and emails to work with. Go on Excel, do whatever. That's up to you.
So, I mean, that's well said. I think too many business people think fixing data is an IT issue, and ultimately it's a business issue. Business people have to do it. I will say that individuals probably shouldn't be doing it willy-nilly, because that just creates more of a problem. It has to be coordinated initiative from the business, facilitated by IT, to address data quality issues. Okay, so we're going to need to pick up the pace here a little bit if we're going to get through and see a demo at the end. So let's go to the next slide or two, Jay.
Yep.
Now we're going to focus on root causes of the data quality issues. We've touched on some of these already, but let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, we can breeze through this. We already have touched through them. So yeah, first, manual processes. This is an important point to talk about. You still have data engineers and analysts using spreadsheets, coding with SQL to fix data. Now, we're not saying that these tools are not effective. SQL is perhaps, in my limited knowledge, I'm not a developer, but in my limited knowledge, it is an extremely powerful language to be, or tool to be able to, do these things. But then again, when it comes to scalability, when it comes to the point where maybe you have 17 different ERP systems to sort through, it's going to take you a hell lot of time to be able to do this. So manual processes is one of the core frustrations that prompted our prospects to come searching for a tool. That's one reason that they come to us for, because every prospect we've spoken to, and I think Matt can add to this better, they have had this complaint that they're still using Excel to dedupe. They're still using these different scripts in-house, trying to build something in-house to match non-exact data. Now that takes a lot of work and human resources to pull off. So manual processes, a significant complaint, a significant challenge. And then it comes to weak data governance. Now, this essentially means that data cleaning is not done routinely. It's probably done when there is a need for clean data to meet a business objective goal, like I said previously. There's no routine to it. There's no structure where, hey, after every quarter, we need to go through a list, sort it, clean it, make sure we don't have any issues with poor data quality. That's not done regularly. So again, limited data governance framework, which I understand is a challenge because it's always perceived as a huge thing to implement. But with how companies operate today with limited resources, very few actually invest in structuring or creating a governance framework.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to add in, I think that both of those kind of also tie into the previous conversation with siloed data as well. You're working with different departments, different individuals being instructed to do different processes. And so I think that with that, a lot of companies look at that data governance as this overarching huge process, but it can start with small steps to start to implement it. Make sure that all of your different departments understand the basic structure of what information is being put into the data. Setting up automated, repetitive data entry type of processes so you limit the amount of manual input there to improve those outputs or the data at the end result as well. So I think that this really ties back to the data or to the siloed information, and just the fact that you need to put in these implementing data validation processes and whatnot, and actually pulling in the teams so that they understand what it is that needs to be input to provide that improved data quality over time.
Yeah, the data entry, which I think you referred to in the manual process, that's a huge source of data quality issues,
Yep.
especially when you have frontline workers
Yes.
trying to input data. Like I remember we worked for a large federal policing agency in another country, and they had created this great system to enable the police to input data from all their calls, while they're in the car. But then they were surprised that the quality of the data was like 20%. It was
Wow.
horrible. So they decided the best way to address that was to make the screens bigger. So they went fat fingering the entry. Of course, as you can imagine, the data quality didn't improve much at all. Anyway, all right, let's go to the next slide here.
We have a comment or question in the chat here, which I think is a good one for us to address here along the way. It says, in your experiences, how much influence or impact does data definition play into your data quality issues?
Huh,
I think it's
that's
a
good.
great question. I was just thinking about something along the lines of that, in order, if we talk about managing data quality, well, you have to know what quality is in order to know
Mm,
whether you have it, right?
mm,
So,
true.
or,
I have to
yeah,
say, with our clients, when we go talk to business users and they complain about the quality of the data, it usually refers to the fact that things are defined differently in different systems.
right.
And then therefore they have to reconcile these differences when they try to bring the data together to make a
Yeah.
decision. And so they're really frustrated. There's no consistent set of definitions for key terms that they use on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I only got to know about these terms like, duplicate data, dirty data, these very specific terms when I started getting involved in data management. So I think generally people don't have the idea or the terms for defining the problems that they're having. Like we all know that there are problems that exist, but we just don't have the terms to define it. So I think again,
Right.
that goes back to a very critical need of educating business users on what exactly is data quality, so that when they see a problem, they can spot it and they can flag it and get it solved. You know what I mean? But if they don't know about it,
Yeah, two more great comments. John, who's got this wonderful title, disambiguation specialist. You're the right person for this conversation. Yes, what is the easiest way to avoid rework of overlapping data in multiple domains? That strikes me as a master data management issue, which is a core reason why people complain about poor quality data. Is like your core master entities like customer or product are typically captured in multiple systems in different ways with different definitions. And this probably is the biggest data quality initiative that companies often take on, but it's daunting is to standardize their master data and then make sure that master data is used and implemented in a consistent way throughout all their systems. And then I think Henrik also made a comment it gets into the definition of data quality. Like he says, low data quality, not what the customer or consumer expects. Right. So quality is in the eyes of the beholder, right? And so we have to just start by defining what do we mean by data quality, which is what you were saying, right, Jay?
Yeah. I was kind of thinking of, someone who was really influential in my understanding of data quality from the past is Larry English, right?
Right.
Who was, and basically his point was you need a specification for quality to measure against, and that's not going to be a simple one-line statement, right? Take the example from where we were talking about earlier of outdated data. Well, for one area of the business, the data you want to consider outdated may be a year old, and in another area of the business it may be 5 years, or and then you have outlier situations such as you're involved in a lawsuit which changes the specific slices of data need to be retained for discoverability during that process, right? So even just in one simple facet of data quality, there's a lot of nuance, and I think this is what is ultimately a big barrier to managing data quality, is that it's hard and it requires a fair amount of effort.
Yeah.
And compared to, working on things that are going to bring in revenue, directly, like an e-commerce system or improving your marketing, it's a hard argument to make that you should invest in the management of one of your most important assets when you can't quantify its value. Right. So,
yeah, I think Larry he came up with some of the attributes for data quality: completeness, accuracy, timeliness, relevance, and then once you pick which attributes you want to focus on and what metrics you want to apply to those attributes, you then have to look at the data itself and define, well, which data sets require what level of quality in each of these dimensions. So there is a lot of pre-work that you need to do before you can really consistently address these data quality issues. It's not a one-off thing or a one-person thing sitting in the trenches. It really needs to be a coordinated governance type activity.
Yeah.
All right, we're having a great discussion, but I'm a little nervous that we might not get through everything, which probably don't have to. But why don't we go to the next section?
Yep.
Okay.
We have talked about this. I think we don't really need to stay on this, but we have.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go to this section, the real cost
Okay.
of poor quality data. Yeah, okay.
This is not news. I mean, if you are in the business, you would know that having low quality, poor quality data will directly impact your revenue and finances. So this isn't exactly news, but what I do want to touch upon is the operational inefficiency, which again, tying back to manual processes. There was this very interesting article by the HBR where I think it said that around 80% of data analysts spend their time cleaning data. And what was once a supposedly sexy job is a very mind-numbing job right now, because you're spending, instead of being strategic with your data, instead of trying to build systems, do something better, you're stuck in that loop of having to clean, dedupe, consolidate, do all of that stuff. That eventually then causes inefficiencies across the board. It's not just the IT or the data team. It then bleeds into your marketing teams and your business teams, because then I'll give you a simple example with myself. I mean, we once had to stall a campaign for 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks at most, because we didn't have the right data, because we discovered our CRM had so many issues, we just couldn't fix it in time. And we had to stall it because IT had other priorities. And so this thing became a list of things to do by the IT team. And by the time they were done with it, we went off season. It was no longer, the need of the hour. And so we had to plan it for another quarter. So something like this happens a lot, and it takes a hit on your processes, on your revenue, on your morale, because then you have conflicts between your data teams and your business teams. It just draws you in, and you have arguments, and it's a blame game. This happens for real. I've been there, seen that. So for me now, data quality isn't just a topic, it's actually something that is impacting my work as a business user. So that's what I wanted to touch upon, as operational inefficiency being a key challenge. We can move to the next slide.
Sure.
Yeah, and this we've already talked about strategic decision-making failures, when you're making decisions on inflated data that has not been corrected or checked, and you just think that you would have this many percentage of users with you, but then when you actually do a check of the data, you realize half of that information is either incomplete, it's duplicated, it's not giving you an accurate view. For companies that do not have analysts or do not have teams in place to sort the data before it goes into downstream applications, this will lead to poor decision making and critical failures. And I've seen that happen quite a few times already. So yeah, missed opportunities. We've spoken about this as well. So if we want to talk about something more, we could, or we can just go to the next slide.
So your prior slide reminded me of the first report that I ever wrote for the Data Warehousing Institute was on the cost of poor quality data. And I did some calculation and came up with this figure that it cost the US economy $600 billion a year. And that comment then just rifled through the whole industry. And
that was you? That was your calculation?
That was mine. Well, that was back in 2001 or 2002. I'm like, geez, I hope I did the math right on that. But I think it probably underestimated the cost of poor quality data. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is linked everywhere. I mean, anybody looking into this would see that number. So yeah, good job on the calculation with that. It did create a ripple.
Well, let's go to the next section. How companies are tackling data quality issues. So yeah, onto the solutions. So let's.
So how they're tackling, again, from the insights that we received from our customers, They want smarter cleaning tools. That's for one. They want something that can automatically identify issues that are there in the database and enable them to simply go in and just clean, standardize, dedupe. They basically need something that is low effort and doesn't take too much of their time, doesn't drain too many resources. So smarter tools, that's in demand. Matching. Now, obviously, because I'm from WinPure, but I just want to keep this very general here. Matching has been a highly underrated function, I would say. It is the technology that enables you to do all that you want to do with your data. To whether you want to match lists, you want to consolidate, whatever it is, you need a really strong matching algorithm or technology that can enable you to do all of that at scale. Right now in the market, matching technologies are not as readily available as it should be. So most of the customers who come to us, they want matching technologies like fuzzy match or probabilistic matching to be able to take care of entity level data discrepancies. And I think at this point, I should let Matt do most of the talking on this, because these are the people that Matt has a direct conversation with, and he can have a better input here.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. As we discussed this prior, I do think before you start to go solve data quality issues, you do need an approach.
Yeah.
And that approach is a data governance approach where you define what data quality is, and you establish KPIs for certain types of data, right? And then you have committees of people working cross-functionally, so that you don't want one little group working with a tool over here doing something and another group with another tool doing something over there. That's just going to compound the problem. So yeah, we never advocate for a tool first approach, but obviously tools are very important once you do have an approach. So let's hear what Matt has to say.
Yeah, no, I think overall, Farah, you noted everything correctly there in regards to the different areas that companies are looking to improve their data quality. To kind of go back to the human focus of it all as well is the simple fact that some of the best ways to improve your company's data quality and how to tackle it is going to be pulling in your team members and actually training them. As Farah noted earlier, that it took a while for her to even understand the impact and importance of data quality and what she can do to improve data quality over time and through processes. And so I think one area that companies really should start putting more focus on is going to be in regards to department-wide like trainings. What is the information you're putting in? Why are you putting it in this structure? Why it should be put in this structure, and really encouraging them to take ownership of that data on the front end. And tied in with that is having those department-focused stewards as well, who understand the importance of the data quality and how it plays a role in the downline and downstream of it. And so I think that kind of stuff is going to have a massive impact in your overall data quality moving forward, whether you're using a certain tool or another tool. That's going to simplify and improve those results overall.
Yeah, well said, Matthew. That kind of reinforces what I was saying, which, because most of what you referenced is what you do in a data governance program.
Yep.
So why don't we move to the next section, Jay?
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, we've talked about this again. We can't. They don't want to do stuff manually.
Okay.
This section
So
is
now we're
interesting.
talking about tools. All right.
Yeah. let me just give you a very clear disclaimer here as well. We do have at WinPure, we do have a lot of people coming in who are from the business side. So just last month, we'd had 3 people who were marketing managers, who were CRM managers, who do not have a data background, but because they had to clean their data and they had to do all of these CRM migrations, and we know that a lot of companies are trying to move from their legacy CRMs into, you know, CRMs like HubSpot and Salesforce and all of that. And there's a significant amount of work that needs to be done in that transition period. Now, because that's so urgent, a lot of these people do not have the resources to do something very long term. And so that's why they need a tool, or tools, many tools that can help them swiftly through that transition, right? So we try to capture their expectations. What do they want from the data quality industry? Like, what kind of tools are these customers requiring to be able to get to their end goal? So one of the key things that we've seen is that they want to have a sort of a matching technology. And I keep going back to matching because that is the key function of any data quality tool that you have in the market. They want to have the technology to handle complex relationship, meaning that they want to be able to identify if, say, Robert Jr. in CRM1 is the same Robert Jr. in a database or in a spreadsheet they had a couple of years ago. Now, in order to do that, you would have to combine a lot of your data sources. You would have to run a match technology. You would have to scan through all the information you have about Robert Jr. in order to determine if the two records are pointing to the same individual. Doing this using your traditional methods is not really helpful. So there is a huge demand for really advanced matching technologies that should help these users to be able to easily match their data, right? The second important point, technical expertise. Now, most of these companies, especially if they're from a SME background, they do not have the resources for technical expertise. As in, they cannot hire a whole team of data engineers to do this work for them. So they would either use a tool, or they would use a consultant, or they would need someone who can quickly implement these changes without having to, get them dragged into a technical setup or a lengthy training session and all of that. They want something that's easy, can be done fast, right? Jay, if you can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Scalability, again, remains a key factor. We have had people come in with 500K records, 1 million records. They need a tool that can handle scalability with speed, with accuracy. Not like, some tools, some solutions, they enable you to do things fast, but then you're not sure about the accuracy of the match. So they want something that can do all three: scale, speed, accuracy. And the next thing, support. This is hardly ever talked about, but it's so important because this is a very specific issue, and because there's so much challenge into solving it. These companies are looking for teams that can provide them with support, and not just tech support, but support in understanding the challenges that they're having and what's the best way to meet these challenges effectively and efficiently. At least that's what we discovered in our conversations with them. Matt, would you like to chime in here? Or this is what the findings have with the report, what we have. And I guess after this, then I will hand it over to Matt to talk about the other key areas.
Yeah, we have a few comments that have come in that we should bring into the conversation. I wanted to make one comment, is that these are important characteristics that you mentioned, 4 of them. There are other, obviously, characteristics out there that people may want to pay attention to, like the ability to generate rules that your tool will implement, sometimes in an automated way, rules generation, profiling of the data, monitoring of the data after the fact, reporting on data quality issues through dashboards and things like that, data quality scoring, and monitoring. I said that already. So So anyway, there's a lot of different characteristics out there. These are 4 very important ones. Eckerson Group's written a lot of reports on this if you want more information on data quality capabilities that you might want to look into. So just some comments from Corinna. Data brokers are not all big organizations with lots of tools. And she also mentioned that keep in mind that there's legislation to cull bad data, remove data per customer request. That's GDPR.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we've discovered with organizations is that, gosh, how are we going to adhere to GDPR when we don't even know where the customer data is? Let alone trying to delete it. And she also mentions in the big companies, especially credit companies like Experian and TransUnion, do not take the time to refine and clean their data, even when challenged about inaccurate information. So this is the quality of third-party data that you may purchase. And that's a huge issue. They don't always give you the quality that they promise. And then a lot of times they may change the schema without telling you, which disrupts your processes. And then you have to map whatever their schema is in your schema. So using third-party data is tricky. And then John says, I understand WinPure has downstream tools, but Matthew's point about moving upstream is a great approach and not just with master data. Yeah, well said. So yeah, at this point, I think we should turn to Matt to give us a little demo of the WinPure data quality tool so people can see what it's all about. So Jay, you're going to have to stop sharing so Matthew can share and give us a quick demo. By the way, thank you, Farah. Very well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. So first off, thank you guys for having me and Farah on this call. It's been great getting to work with you guys and learn more about your guys' approach with an Eckerson Group. As noted, I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit of a quick demo of our tool. It's going to be roughly about 10 minutes or so, just highlighting some of the key areas that we can help with to improve data quality for any businesses out there. And especially one nice thing with WinPure is the fact that we're agnostic. We can work with a lot of different departments and a lot of different industries out there, because let's face it, every data or every department within every company is facing data quality challenges, and we need to continue to improve those across the business as a whole. A little bit about WinPure in regards to the tool and its capabilities. We've been in business since 2002. We've worked hard to continue to improve our data quality tool. It is going to be a Windows-focused on-premise solution. It has great scalability. It feeds off of your own resources, and with it being on-premise as well, you have that ability to prevent any data interference or data security concerns there, since it all is in-house with no information being shared externally. And additionally as well, our tool is the only Windows on-premise solution out there currently offering an entity resolution matching module within it as well, which is going to help in a lot of different areas when looking at duplicate entities or relationships with entities within your data sets. And so I think, kind of going off of our last topic there, what customers want with a data quality product, our tool has all of those capabilities that we've seen and touched on in that section. We have great scalability. We have we have 30 plus data cleaning features within our tool. The user experience is amazing. It's something that you can pick up and go. It's a no-code solution, so you have that capability, whether you're technical or not technical, to hop on and start to run through and clean your data almost instantly. And so with that being said, as you can see here, I'm sharing my screen that's going to kind of show a little bit of data of WinPure's data quality capabilities here. Importing wise, you have your typical importing file types and databases that you can import and export out to. So these are going to be able to help you to get that access and pull in the different files to create that unified view and one central location for you to work across your data as well. With our cleaning capabilities are massive. You know, I think that our data cleaning is going to help you so much when it comes to maintaining, standardizing, and normalizing your data sets, whether to identify duplicates or just maintain them overall. We have sections that focus in on your data quality. How complete are your columns? Are you seeing more information be put into a certain column, like address 2 versus address 1, which is going to allow you to kind of dig into the why. Why are we putting it in this way? How can we resolve this? And what kind of structure do we want to see while it's being input? It has pattern management recognition, so you're able to quickly go in, build formats for your different columns, and quickly identify how many of those records or how many of those data points within that column are matching your desired pattern and how many are not, and what can we do to resolve those that are not matching those patterns that you're looking for with a zip code or other patterns within there. And then you have your typical data quality, data profiling. You know, are we seeing letters within the zip code column, but we're working with US addresses, so we shouldn't see letters within there? Are we seeing extra spaces, certain characters within the different columns that you may not want to see them in? And then, of course, you have your statistical values that you can export and collect over time to get a full view of what information is being put into those data sets. Additionally, you have all of your key cleaning capabilities, whether that's removing or reformatting of data within certain columns, getting rid of or replacing information within those columns. You have your converting. This kind of goes back to a light topic that was touched on earlier, which is your free text fields. You want to minimize those as much as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have misspellings. You're going to have simplistic kind of data quality issues that could have easily been resolved, like accidentally hitting an O instead of a 0 or a 1 instead of an L. So one key area there is try to minimize your free text fields as much as possible to help with that standardization of information there. You have your setting of proper case settings, lowercase or uppercase settings. And you, of course, have your splitting of information, which is really powerful for segmenting your data as well during the matching process. If you have a lot of information filled into one cell and you're utilizing fuzzy matching as an example, which is going off of the string text within those cells, you're going to have a harder time finding duplicates or matching duplicate records based off of that. So the splitting feature is great for standardizing and normalizing your information, but is also great for segmenting your information for that matching process as well. We have our address parser, which again is going to be beneficial for segmenting your data and normalizing and standardizing your addresses. A quick touch point here, you can see that our address parser, when we run it, our original column had no city column within there, but the addresses are all kinds of mixed up within the 3 addresses. And when you run the address parser, it's going to split it on the house number, the street name. You can see those cities are now in the city column. It's going to split it based off the PO boxes, floor levels, unit numbers. And the other nice piece with this is it is a global address parser. So if you're including different countries, it can parse those out according to the different country structures, address structures there. So again, this is quick for standardizing addresses, but also segmenting your addresses to try to match on key components within it. Other cleaning features, you have your merging of columns, shifting of alignment, and then of course we have our word manager, which is going to allow you to not just see if you have exact matches within a certain column or unique values within a certain column. It's also going to allow you to update and update information within those columns, whether you're looking at replacing the word drive with the abbreviation of drive, or replacing whole values. Maybe you've experienced it where you came across this address here, but you know it's an invalid address. And so you can create built out lists that will identify certain addresses or certain words and replace them, whether it's an individual word, an entire cell, a phrase, or even a string of letters. And those can be reused in other data sets as well. Additionally, we have our matching feature, which is allowing you to utilize our fuzzy matching to identify matches both within a file and across multiple files. And you're going to be able to see the groups with the locations of those records, where they came from. You're going to see the percentages of how closely they match based off of the rules you have set. And then you have your original columns here. So you can see, you know, clinic versus ink matching with almost a 98% fuzzy match. You may come across different structures with like Douglas Road E versus Douglas Road. Those are going to match with a 96% plus. And once you have these matches, you have the capabilities of setting a master golden record. You can update and overwrite information from one record to another record. You can merge the records together, or you can export just those results out for your next data steward, as an example, to start to review those and make a decision on what the next steps are with those matched records. And so you have a lot of capabilities here, and you of course have your report here that's going to show you an overview of those results and how you got to those results. The last piece I wanted to touch on is going to be our entity resolution matching algorithm within our Match AI module. Again, this is entity resolution. It's utilizing, if you're looking at your columns, you're able to match you're able to use each column's unique identifier for your matches. So you're saying, hey, this is the last name column, first name column, date of birth, so on and so forth. And the entity-centric learning algorithm on the back end is able to take those unique identifiers and match them in a host of different ways. And the results are going to look the same as the fuzzy matching, but instead of seeing percentages, you're seeing match keys. So you can visually see here what columns matched with the second record or third record compared to that first record. A couple other nice points I'd like to call out with this briefly is just going to be the fact that this, unlike fuzzy matching, will be able to match with different formats of information, whether that's dates or other types of formats and phone numbers. If information is mixed up between columns, it can cross-reference across the columns to identify matches. And on the back end, it also has an 800 million global name database, allowing for all those different nicknames and common misspellings for names to be able to be utilized and matched on there. And this is going to identify both duplicates as well as possible relationships across your data sets. And then in regards to the last piece here, there is scheduled automation. So you can set automated data cleaning runs or automated data matching runs and choose what cleaning's done and where those outputs are going to after the cleaning or matching has been performed. That's just a high level. If you want to learn more, obviously, please reach out to me anytime on that front. But beyond that, I'll stop sharing at this point to let us wrap up and answer anything that may have come up during this demo.
Thanks, Matthew. So that was really good. So my impression of your tool is that it's a very easy to use yet powerful Windows-based on-premises data cleaning tool. that
Exactly.
does matching, deduplication, standardization, all the good things that you want to fix in your data once you identify the problems, and does profiling as well and the
Yeah.
reporting. And I'm going to bet that's probably pretty affordable given what else is out there.
Yeah, when you're comparing to all the other bigger data quality companies out there, we are extremely affordable in comparison, and work hard to work with our customers and meet their needs,
Yeah.
as well as provide that ongoing support for them as well.
Now, I know Jay used your tool and he was exploring it, and then he used it for one of our clients. Maybe Jay, what are your comments and impressions of the tool since you've used it?
Yeah, so I was impressed by how intuitive it was, especially from, you think about a workflow, right? If you want to be able to match, you should clean and standardize the data before you do the matching, right? And
Yep.
and the application has sort of led you through that process. I did a lot with the fuzzy matching, not so much with the AI matching on this set of data that I was looking at. And it revealed some insights into the data that were not obvious, and kind of created some important questions for us to go back to the client and ask about, because there were some things that they assumed about their data that, the empirical analysis of it proved to be wrong. So that was really helpful. We found that out, within about a half an hour of using the tool on that data. So I think the other thing that impressed me was that, for companies that don't have a big IT department, and who really rely on people within a given business department to do the data analysis, the familiarity of its Excel-like interface is going to make a lot of people feel at home as a starting point, right? So I think that's, over the course of my career, it's been an ongoing process of trying to reconcile that, you're not going to get Excel to go away, and that if you can't beat them, join them, right? So this is a good example of using that, leveraging that familiarity in a more controlled way.
All right, so we have one question about your tool from our audience, and we're going to ask that question, and then we're going to have a quick response, and then we're going to end this because we're at time right now. So Michael asked, how does the tool work with data governance and data translation, that is mapping values to a common table? Think Elon Musk people thinking that Social Security data shows people are getting Social Security benefits at 165 years old. I think it was 120 plus years. Would this be your matching
function?
Function, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding it correctly, I think our tool is going to do a couple different things, but for a brief, quick response here, when it comes to matching of the information, the matching AI is going to be entity focused. So it's going to look at all of the different columns that tie back to an entity, whether it's date of birth, whether it's social security number. It can reference all of those and utilize records with incomplete information to link together, whether one record might have a fraction of the record's data, whether it's maybe they only have date of birth and another record has date of birth plus social security number. It's going to be able to link that information together into a group for you to get that full view of the unified information for that record. And then when you're talking data governance and everything, you have the capabilities to match across, or you're able to match, but you're also able to set cleaning rules based off of columns. So you could set up a cleaning configuration based off of the first name column, save that and apply that in an automation to be able to continuously clean that specific data input based off of a structured format. So yeah, you have a lot of different ways to be able to map back and apply to that data governance.
Great. Well, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you so much, Matthew and Farah. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and thank you, Jay, for being our slide mover and commentator par excellence. And thank you to everyone in the audience for all your keen observations, comments, and questions.
Yes,
So
thank
until
you.
next time, have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Right,
Take care.
bye-bye.
Bye.